to you.
It
He's a
sucks.
Sixer.
I love Paul George. What's he going
He was
on?
good.
Wait, what?
I love
You
Paul
gotta go.
George. Wait.
Just kidding.
I loved him on the Pacers, and then he
Pacers?
played for
What?
OG. He
On
played.
the Pacers?
Hold on.
Hi, welcome to Knicks Perspective. I'm here, Jay. We got Ben, we got Plex, and Hoffer. So I just want to talk a little bit about like why we're here, and then we'll do some real introductions. But here at the Knicks Perspective, what we're looking to do is give you different perspectives on Knicks fans' views on this wonderful team that we all love. So we got different generations and different perspectives on how we became Knicks fans and how we follow the team moving forward. So first, I'm going to introduce my team. We got Ben. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit there?
What's going on, guys? My name's Ben, as this man has already said. But yeah, man, I've been a Knicks fan for as long as I can remember. Like, my dad got me into the team, and like I really started to fall in love with them like when they made that playoff run again in 21. Mm-hmm. And I started to feel so connected, And that was where like the love, watching every game started again. Like, obviously I loved watching like that mellow stat team when I was younger, but man, that Julius Randle, Reggie Bullock team.
Not a lot of people say that, Reggie Bullock.
That's the second guy you name in that.
Yo, Alec Burks, Alex Jordan.
There you go. It's like Reggie Bullock.
Reggie Bullock.
Taj Gibson.
So you're criticizing him for bringing up Reggie Bullock, and you bring up Alec Burks.
Alec Burks.
That's MJ right there.
That's MJ.
Hey.
Okay. No, we started. We're already making fun of each other.
That's good. That's great.
That's what you
All right.
say?
That's why I love this.
Yeah,
This is
good
different
vibe.
perspectives.
Different
You know what I'm
perspectives.
saying?
I would have never thought you'd say Reggie Bullock.
That's not the name I thought he was gonna come out with either. No disrespect, yo. Reggie was a baller, right? All right. I'm so sorry, Ben. Plax.
Yeah. I'm Plax. Just like Ben, Knicks fan whole life. I think my first memory was like the Melo versus Chicago. That was like I think it was on Easter. That Easter game.
Oh, 2012.
The overtime game. Yeah.
When he hits the three to get us
Into
to tie
overtime?
it, and then he hits the three to win it in
to
overtime.
win it in overtime.
That's a big memory.
That was
that was
that was like my first memory like ever.
Was that a double bang from Mike Breen?
Yeah.
On that play?
Did he double bang that
I
one?
don't remember. I know he
don't know.
got two separate bangs. Was that
Yeah, I mean, that's
two separate
that's pretty
bangs?
good.
It doesn't count.
It's not quite a double bang.
It's not a double bang.
it's two- yeah.
Those are reserved for like
Two
playoff
individuals
modes,
do
yeah.
not make.
But yeah.
That was the old Knicks jersey. That's like the Marbury jersey
the
behind you
green one?
that he was rocking. Same style before they switched to the modern ones.
Yeah, it's
All right,
polyester.
next up we got Hoffer.
Yes, Hoffer. They call me Hoffer because I'm a Hall of Famer. Not true. It's my last name. So I've been a fan, not like these guys, my whole life. Not since the 80s. So I've been a fan since the Knicks tape. So that was when we had J.R. Smith, Reddy Shumpert, was Felton on that
Steve
team?
Novak,
Steve
Ray
Novak,
Felton,
Jason
Jason
Kidd,
Kidd, Rasheed Wallace,
man.
Kurt Thomas, Marcus Camby. Sorry, I can keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, I really fell in love with that team. I was a big JR fan too, and then I respect the Iman, but I was a big Melo fan, bro. Big Melo fan.
Melo brought a lot of fans to that era.
Yeah,
for sure.
especially like I love those silky like baby blue jerseys when he was on the Nuggets. Ooh.
They were good jerseys, but
They were
you know,
cool.
nothing looks better than the number 7.
Oh,
Knicks,
of course.
you know,
The orange
Yeah.
and blue, man.
yeah.
What the
Orange
double
and
zero?
blue. But yeah, I'm also I should mention I'm also OKC fan. Not that this has any not that this has anything to do with the Knicks. However,
You didn't even go
I have
3 minutes before you talk about the
3 minutes
Thunder.
in. No, but okay, I'm also a big Knicks fan. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Jersey City, so it's only right that I represent the East Coast with the Knicks. I've gone to multiple Knicks games, especially
real
with
fan.
Jay. Yeah, this is it's legitimately. I bleed orange and blue.
He just has the other orange and blue team there.
Yeah, exactly.
sometimes.
It's just a
Yeah.
coincidence.
I will
He
say,
followed Hardenstein.
Whenever
Yeah, that's followed.
whenever Hoffer watches the Thunder and the Knicks play, though, you do root hard for the Knicks.
I do root hard for the
Yeah,
Knicks.
you just
yeah.
want the Thunder to succeed, but now that they're so good, it's like, yo, you don't have to be a fan of them anymore, right?
Yeah.
I can still watch
Anyway,
them. We're gonna
like we
learn.
said, this is a different perspective. We have a fan who has another team.
Okay.
Fine, Knicks tape, we'll take it. We have 2 high schoolers here. I'm gonna put you on blast.
Yeah.
We have high school perspective, so we're not just dealing with old heads.
True.
We're dealing with younger people too,
Yeah.
who have joined the Knicks fandom in more recent years, but they're real fans too, man. And the thing that I see in other podcasts and other groups that talk about the Knicks is, you know, a lot of times it's like one-sided when it comes to the way we analyze and look at them. And I think what we're trying to offer here is just an opportunity to see different age groups and different people come together and see how their love for the Knicks really is displayed. And, you know, it's apparent through who we followed and who we grew up in. As for me, I've been a fan since the early 90s. My first real experience with the Knicks was actually in the finals in 94. My boy Zay got me this hat right here. The first heartbreak of my Knicks fandom. They lost in the finals to the Rockets. They were up in that series. Thought I was going to witness a championship in that first year. Didn't happen. Never happened since then.
Who do you blame? Who do you blame? Who do you blame?
I love
Say
John
it.
Starks as
There
a
you go.
player, but he struggled in Game 7. And I would say if Patrick Ewing doesn't have a little moment in Game 6, you never know. I don't want to blame anybody. I think Pat Riley should have probably taken John Starks out or told him to stop shooting. But anyway, we're here. We're talking about these new Knicks. So anyway, let's talk about actually the current Knicks, right? So why don't we start with you, Hoffer? What do you think about this current Knicks team? We're talking about this season. We talked about the 21 team that some of you guys fell in love with, but this current Knicks team is a little different than the teams we've seen recently. So what's your take on this Knicks team? And then we're going to go in a row, okay?
Given that we came in being known as a highly defensive team, however, with the changes and like obviously losing Randall, losing DiVincenzo, our identity changed a bit. All of a sudden, we became one of the best offensive teams in the league, which was like surprising. Even though I feel like our culture had a staple of you know relying on our defense. Not to knock us off on anything, because I feel like we've been doing fairly well, especially given the types of rotations that we've had to make over the past few games. Given Brunson's absence, however. Through adversity, man. I mean, I feel like we've been able to really like
come together
as a team and play well against teams that we really on maybe last year wouldn't have been able to make any noise on, right? Like, I mean, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers coming up too soon, so I would like to see how we face against them. Given
We
that
struggle with the elite teams this year. That's like a big news story.
Celtics. Which I'd rather, right? Like I'd rather us be like, okay, like we're going, especially since we're the third seed. Like, all right, if we're gonna be having some difficulties with them, it's like, all right, at least we can see what adjustments we need to make, right? Especially shout out to Tibbs. Hopefully, maybe some minutes, maybe some minutes for the younger guys. You know,
We've
maybe
been saying that all year, but
with rotation as well. I know we had mentioned it outside the podcast, right? Maybe even with having a Hart coming off the bench. I mean, I think that the diversity in the players and just their roles on the team, it's very exciting to see where we're at, because it's not just about like, all right, we have like good 4 to 5 guys who are just going to be starting and playing 36 minutes per game.
yeah.
Right? Like we have I feel
We actually have more. Listen, the knock on us is that we don't have depth, but I think we would say that we feel that they do have more depth.
I think
Yeah.
they do. I think they do. And especially if we start taking guys out. Like let's say Hart comes off the bench and then we bring someone
your
else in.
fave.
My
I
fave? I know.
suggested that, but
I know you
but
did.
that's-
Yeah.
I think at this point we're probably not going to switch it up, but
No,
injuries
it's
can
fine.
force it.
It's true.
So you like this team though?
I do. OG, I don't know. We have people who have won championships. So like OG, and OG's a big defensive guy too. I think he makes a lot of noise.
Even
Especially
PJ Tucker. Now he's on the team,
shout
right?
out to
2-year
PJ.
deal,
bro.
baby.
What number is he again? Was he
17?
Something like that. I don't remember.
He did play briefly, right? Yeah.
Did he?
Like
He got
2
to-
minutes.
I didn't see
two
when he
minutes.
played, to be honest with you.
I didn't either. It was
Me
like
either.
I don't think
I
he played
thought
any shots. I think it was just that's it.
He's there
all
for
defensive
veteran
mindset.
leadership.
Just
Yeah.
claps.
I mean, the thing you talked on was the big switch. You know, we obviously made 2 big acquisitions in the offseason.
Yeah.
The late addition of Cat, which is really, when you look at it, you're swapping Mitch and Cat, 2 complete polar opposites on the floor. And then, of course, adding Bridges, and you lose DiVincenzo. So, you know, obviously that was a big adjustment. Plex, what do you feel about this current team in terms of, like, you know, making that adjustment, becoming an offensive-minded team, and now suddenly Mitch is back in the game, right? So it does change things a little bit.
I think just one thing is it's gonna take time for everything to like gel completely. You know, everyone's kind of overreacting to a lot of things, and
A lot of overreaction.
Yeah.
Team has so much expectation.
high
Like, going into
expectations.
it.
You know,
We're
but
in the 3rd seed.
I've seen a lot of people say it's year 1 right now for this era. You know, we have, I think everyone's multi-year deals. I think it's just Bridges that needs to re-sign. I think everyone else, we got him for another 2,
4
3
years,
years. Yeah,
right?
something like that.
3 years
So-
at least.
This, like, we shouldn't. expect a championship this year, even though that would be great.
Great. We'd
That'd
be
be
nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be
little
very
finals
cool.
appearance, a little
Yeah, I
back to
think it's
backs.
just-
Honestly, we got to get to the conference
Three-peat?
finals first.
Little
Let's
three-peat,
Let's
yeah.
get to the conference finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the next
I agree.
Yeah.
for sure.
So you're up on this team too, then.
I'm up on it,
Yeah.
but we just gotta.
Actually,
Guys,
while we're doing
take
this,
some
is,
time.
who's your favorite player on the current team? While we're
Oh,
talking?
Josh Hart. Bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. What about you?
Cat.
Cat.
All right. All right. You like that offensive game, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, go, little shout. Like those of you that may not know this, but
You gonna put him on blast now?
Cut this out right here.
so he said cut it out. Okay,
No,
Cut
we'll,
it.
we'll tell his secret in the
his
future.
secret later.
future.
Yes, maybe.
Ben, what do you think about this current team, the current Knicks makeup?
Um,
Making the adjustment from a heavily defensive team. Now we have an offensive-minded team with little defensive reinforcements coming in on the bench.
I think that this team is easily. I mean, this is the best starting lineup I've ever seen
That
from
we've
a
had.
Knicks squad.
I would agree.
And I think that there's so much more. I think that there's so much more that we have to offer that we haven't even seen yet, like from like the bench and like the rookies. Like I think like I know like Tibbs doesn't really like it's not easy for him to like trust rookies.
I mean, he hates them.
but I think like if he exactly
Hates rookies.
that's like I'm just saying nicely. But I think that like we could have possibly hit on all of our draft picks this past year if we see what they
It's
have.
rare
I
that
mean,
we can say that, but
It is rare, but
Recently,
like
it's
I think that
been not
I
bad.
trust Leon Rose.
I do too.
And I from this team, I mean, I love the grit from OG Anunoby recently. Like the guy has just like been really aggressive, and you know he was dealing with. I think he was dealing with like some injury problems,
Yeah,
and that was causing
injury.
him not to be like
Yeah.
as aggressive. But
It's the healthiest season he's had since basically like his first year in the league, I believe.
Yeah,
so
it's
I mean,
good.
we're seeing what we really signed up for. You know, I was a little concerned. You know, we gave him this massive contract, and I'm like, is he going to be healthy?
Yeah.
You know, because he's had this issue. But this year, to me, this version of OG, this is why we went and got him, right?
Yep.
You know, no shade to Julius Randle, but like OG brings a different intensity on the defensive end, and we know that he can score points. So, you know, for me, Ben, when you're good. I don't want to like cut you off, but you know, as far as this team, you know, I'm very high on this team, just like you guys are. You know, I feel like this offensive makeup with Cat at the center. Now, I like defense personally a little better. You know, I'd rather stick to what you're good at. But at the same time, like this team,
yeah, Denny's changed though.
that's true.
You know, it's not like Cat's not a first defense guy.
I
No.
still like Cat at the 4 though.
I'm with
agree.
you, Plex. I've told Hoffer this off the air. You know, I think that the long-term lineup, if they end up keeping Mitch long-term, we obviously know the health is an issue. But long-term, I want to see Mitch at the 5 and Cat at the 4.
Yep.
Now, the tough decision is who it comes off the bench. But that's something we'll deal with later. I think in the immediate, I think you kind of have to stick with the lineup because it's worked all year.
True.
But my concerns are more about the bench, like we talked about. Now, I'm an advocate for the young guys. I believe that long term, those rookies are going to eventually have to take the minutes from the vets, but that's not going to happen until next year. Let's
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
So Landry Shamet, Cameron Payne, you know, these guys, even Precious Achua is going to be a free agent. So these guys may not be here long term, you know, and of course PJ Tucker, you know, even though he has a 2-year deal,
don't
it's a
wanna lose
flexible
Precious.
deal.
We
What's
were
that?
talking
I don't
about
want to lose Precious.
I don't either.
man.
but
Everyone
you have
hates
to look
Precious
at-
on,
You might have to
does it?
decide.
A lot of people don't like him.
I love Precious.
Really? Yeah, my thing is,
It's like,
I'll say this about Precious. I think Precious is a hardworking player. I
Yeah.
just think that he reminds me of Julius, but not as talented offensively.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
he's not an offensive-minded guy. He
I,
has
I
a good
think it's
defensive
the
mind, but-
consistency for me. Sometimes he
Yeah,
looks
exactly.
like he looks like LeBron, and then sometimes he looks
You know what
like
it is?
he's
I think
Never
Will
touched a
Smith or
basketball.
Carlton.
it comes down to what
That's about
position
it.
he's playing. You said Carl Smith.
I said
You
yeah,
said
like
Will Smith or
Carlton.
Smith or Carlton. Yeah.
Yeah, on the court.
I think you're
don't
being
know.
harsh on the guy. But you want to know something about
Yeah.
Precious? It's a matter of what positions he's playing. If you're
True.
forcing him to play center, he's undersized. He's not a center. He's 6'8",
yeah.
220.
We saw that at the Magic game. Like,
Yes.
it's just like playing where he's strongest in, or like
Play him
play him
at
at
the
the
four.
4
Yeah.
when they don't have 2 7-footers.
Exactly.
In, you know? It's
Also, I was listening to Mike Breen on a broadcast. I forgot what game it was, but like Precious went off, and it was like
That was
when
last
Precious when Precious gets a lot of minutes and he knows he's going to get minutes, he plays more confident. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's the human element of it, man.
Exactly.
What people don't realize about these players is they're real people. So if
Yeah.
you know you're getting 27 minutes, you're locked in. When you come in for 8 minutes, you don't really get a flow.
Yeah.
You come in for 4 minutes and then you're out of the game. We've seen this with the rookies.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that this is part of basketball. You guys, look, Ben, I don't know how much ball you play. Plaxo, I've seen you play. You ball. Me and Hoffer have played against each other.
I be hooping.
My bad. Didn't know. We got to play one day when I'm in shape.
Yeah.
But my point is that, like, when you know your role and you come in, you play your game, and you have the time to actually lock into that role, you kind of know what to do. Precious Achiuwa, to his defense, I feel like his role has kind of gone all over the place, and it's not his fault. I mean, they needed size. When Mitch got healthy, they said we got to go with Mitch, and they're very guard heavy. And now that Jalen Brunson's hurt, Shamit's playing, Cameron Payne's hurt, Miles McBride's hurt. They're doing deep in that bench. Tyler Kolek's playing. Even DeLon Wright's playing.
But he's doing good minutes.
He is playing good minutes. But we all know that we're one injury away from Precious Achiuwa being very, very necessary. Yeah. If Mitch goes down, we're in trouble. If Porty returns, we're okay. But we don't know what his timetable is right now. We don't even know if Tibbs is going to trust him again. He might need to get back in shape.
Yeah.
So, just real quickly, I'll just say that my opinion is that the rookies will eventually get burned once the veterans move on. But we're locked in with this team. We know that the veterans are going to have to produce. Shamit's been playing good lately. We'll see about Achiuwa if he's going to be in the rotation. I think that really depends on our front court health. But I think it's clear that they provide heavy minutes go to Bridges, OG, Cat. Mitch is going to have to get more minutes as the playoffs come. Precious might be the odd man out for now, depending on Porty, depending on injuries. But I'm high on this team, and I think if I had to pick a favorite player, it's tough this year. It really is tough.
It's tough.
I mean, listen, my favorite player is the captain. I gotta say,
I agree.
But if we're going a different route, because I think that's most people's favorite right now, I'm liking Cat, man. But I have to say that I'm a big fan of OG, man. I just think his shooting, his defense, he forces turnovers, easy buckets. The guy also is an underrated dunker. He's in the lane,
dude, he moves without the ball so well.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
ever see him
and
just
I'm gonna throw Bridges a little thing. Everybody's hating on the trade at the beginning of the year. Bridges, when he's inside the paint, is a bucket, man.
He's a mini machine.
He's a mini machine, and he's got that little fadeaway.
Him and DeMar. Those two guys.
They're like the only guys in the league that shoot.
Yeah.
DeMar,
By the way, you got to check out Melo's podcast because he talks to dudes like Rudy Gay about how the midi has been just eliminated from the game, and how these coaches have basically said we don't want you to shoot that.
That's why Shumpert didn't last in the league after that he got
because he didn't have a good 3-point shot.
Yeah, he went to the Kings after I think he was on the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
He talked about it because it was the league changed.
They don't shoot middies, man. Middies are done.
And then for a lot of guys, that's their game.
That's their bread and
imagine you
butter.
telling Melo, yo,
You can't
stay in
shoot
the
that.
corner. That's why I feel like that's also what forced
That's
Melo to
literally what
retire.
happened to both of those guys' career, Rudy Gay and Melo.
Because I get it. It's I could keep playing, but if I have to play this style of basketball,
and these guys have been playing ball their whole life.
Yeah.
If you're an 11-year veteran, that's 11 years in the league, and then you have college and high school, and then your youth. I mean,
That's like 17,
Don't
18
shoot.
years.
yeah,
Don't
we're
shoot a
talking
midi.
entire life, yeah. All right, let's move on to our current Knicks. Ben, did you give us your favorite player? Who's your
I
favorite
think
player?
you might have skipped me.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay, man.
Skipped you, man.
I'm gonna go a combination of Brunson and Hart.
We're
Okay.
cheating,
in
right?
one,
Just because
the perfect player.
You know what it
Bart.
says?
Bart.
You know what it
Bart.
says?
Bart.
We like the starting five, man.
Yeah,
I
like,
love the
they're all
starting
good
five.
players.
I actually do love OG because I love the way these guys just go about their business though. They don't they don't talk. They
OG's
just go
serious,
about
man.
it, bro.
No, I
Benji's
think
so
Josh
professional,
Hart kind of
bro.
talks a lot.
Josh
Josh
does.
does.
Josh is the
Josh
talker.
does.
You know who he
He
talks? He
talks.
talks to the refs.
He does. No,
No,
Josh
but then
Hart talks.
he trash
He
talks.
trash talks.
Yeah.
On the court.
He's the energy of the team.
Yeah.
Josh is I think he is the perfect bench player in the NBA. I'm not saying he should only be on the bench, but I think if you have a amazing starting five, a balanced starting five, I think Josh Hart could win Sixth Man of the Year every year if he was on the bench.
Well,
That's
that's
my
my
opinion.
brings. Oh my god.
And I think he should get still 30 minutes a game. I just think that in theory, sorry, we're switching topics, but in theory, if he was coming off the bench and you had Mitch, Cat, OG, Bridges, and Brunson, I feel like if Josh Hart's the first guy off the bench, I said this on the previous podcast that we didn't end up airing, but he could replace anybody. Anybody comes out, he's in the game.
Yeah.
Even Brunson comes out, you can put him in, and he can run the point,
Exactly.
right?
He ran the point in college, did he not?
He
He
at
did, he
times.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he came in league as a point guard.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's adjusted his game, but I just want to give Josh Hart a shout out too because he's the toughest and the most hustle player that we've had probably since. I mean, he reminds me of more of a hustle and a defensive minded J.R. Smith in a way.
Okay.
You know, maybe not as good of a shooter, of course, that JR was. JR was an
I actually
incredible
think
shooter.
I actually think Hart's a good shooter when he trusts his shot.
He's a good shooter, but JR was a great
JR
shooter.
was a
JR
sharp
was
shooter.
on
Have you ever
That
seen
dude.
JR in high school?
Yeah.
Dude was a bucket from like.
Didn't he
30
come
feet
out of
away.
high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh, wow.
St.
insane.
Benedict's, man. Newark.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah.
All right, so back to what I was going to say. Let's switch off and talk about these injuries and moving towards the playoffs. Ben, let's start with you. Are you concerned about the injuries, and how do you think this is going to play off, and who do you want to see in the playoffs? Honestly.
Okay, so who I want to see in the playoffs? I don't want to see Detroit in the playoffs.
Nobody wants to see Detroit.
I want to see the Bucks.
Yeah, because we just swept them.
I mean, not only that. I mean, I definitely now that Damian Lillard's going to be out.
Now, is he definitely out for the whole playoffs?
Believe so.
I think so. Based
The
off
blood
what?
clot. thing
Based
was a
off
big deal,
based
right?
off the fantasy.
I believe
Based
that.
off of fantasy.
They're always talking about fantasy.
I believe that we could beat the Bucks in the playoffs with Dame easily.
I agree.
But I definitely want to see them more than Detroit. I mean, we have not played well against them. We don't match up well against them.
You want to know something, though? I'm just going to say this real quick about Detroit. I just don't know if we even had our real team play against that team.
We haven't.
So I want to see how that works
Like
out.
a-
Reminds me
like a
when we
full
played Atlanta a couple of years ago. We dominated Atlanta in the playoffs, and then we dominated Atlanta in the regular season. In the playoffs, we struggled. So like this could be
Totally.
a similar situation. But I'm sorry, Ben.
I mean,
so
that's how I feel about with
Detroit.
like Boston and Cleveland. I mean, Boston, they're on another level. But Cleveland, I still feel like we could.
I mean, we ran the floor with them a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
well, we'll see what we can do.
There's some matchups too.
So you want Milwaukee.
I want Milwaukee first
Definitely.
round.
All right, Plax, what do you think? Well, what about these injuries? You think we're going to be all right? You think Brunson's going to be okay?
I think Brunson's going to be okay. I think that I would like for him to come back at least 2 or 3 games before the end of the season so we can get
the
some of
target
like his
is
life.
he's going to be back. I think 4 games before the season.
Yeah, I
ends.
just want him to get back in shape. I want Captain Clutch back.
and then
man.
get a
But-
rapport with the team again, right?
And I actually think he needed the rest.
Exactly.
I think
yeah.
you got to look at
Could
it
be a
as a
blessing in disguise,
positive.
maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to look at it.
Gotta be
The
positive.
team also
could be
kind of
healthy.
learned how to play with each other a little bit better.
Yeah,
since
I was
he's
gonna say
out,
that. Yeah.
Plex, what do you think about the injuries, the playoff run that's about to come, and who do you want?
I mean, it's kind of like not that the Brunson injury was a good thing, but I think it was like a blessing in disguise. You know, Bridges able to get in a groove. OG's able to get in a groove. He's
Both guys.
averaging.
Yeah.
He's averaging 30 in the last 4. It's kind of crazy, but and he's gonna be rested for the playoffs, and I think everyone else should be good for the playoffs.
So is Deuce as well.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
but-
Deuce
Well,
will be back.
and
He's
Deuce has
not
got to
dead
be
anyway.
back.
Yeah.
You know, last year at this point we were like, we're struggling injury wise.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a little bit of different mentality. I know the guards are hurting, but so who do you want, man?
Yeah, definitely Milwaukee. I think that's the.
Yeah, Milwaukee's
way.
got
Milwaukee.
But I don't know if that's how it's gonna play out.
Right
We're gonna
now,
see right here.
Detroit's
Actually, no,
in
it
six.
is.
Right now,
they're-
Milwaukee's in 6, right?
Yeah, they're in 6. They're 1.5
So
games.
we're hoping Detroit.
from 5th.
Well, Detroit's in 5th now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're hoping it stays this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're not climbing and we're not dropping at this point. So
I'm
and
cool to
freaking-
see Atlanta too, but I think
Where's
Atlanta,
Atlanta at?
Atlanta's 4 games
No,
back
not
from.
4 games.
I don't
6th.
think it's gonna happen.
Milwaukee, I think we match up best.
Yeah. But you know,
with-
anything can happen at the 7-8 spot. You know, but we'll see.
But yeah.
What about you, Hoffer? What do you want?
I'm not afraid of the Pistons.
Ooh, he wants the
I like
smoke.
He ain't afraid.
No, but what if
He
they
wants
like
smoke.
injure us? You know, they
I mean,
Oh,
it's
that
like-
too.
They might
good
hurt
points,
us,
They're
right?
gonna fight. They're
Honestly,
gonna fight.
all right. We're
No.
talking
Jay
about like
Stewart,
if we're
Philly
talking
all
about
over again.
long term, right? The way the Pistons play and how aggressive they are, and just the culture as a team. I respect the Pistons a lot, especially
I do
being
too.
where
Yeah.
they've come.
Huge turnaround.
Oh,
Huge turnaround.
Respect
Oh, yeah.
to respect to
Just forgot
KD.
last
Yeah.
season.
Well,
And
like,
JD
they
Bickerstaff.
were throwing
Oh,
these
yeah,
guys
bro.
under the bus last season, talking
Yeah.
about
And hold up.
sell the
I'm not
organization.
gonna, we don't have to go into it right now, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of disrespect on that team too. Like
Oh,
Shaq
yeah.
doesn't. He didn't even know who the coach was, though.
Really?
He thought
He said Chauncey
was
Billups.
coach.
But that's just. But that's
Yeah.
just
People-
inside the
yeah, but
NBA.
that's
Right? That's
Portland.
inside the NBA. I think it's
Inside the
Yeah,
NBA.
they, I
Yeah,
don't think they
teams,
watch the
yeah.
games. I'm not gonna.
They
lie.
don't watch the
don't.
games,
They don't.
man. All right, I'm sorry, Hoffer.
All right, after Black saying that, yeah, I rather see the Bucks. it'd be fun. It would be fun to see a Pistons versus Knicks series. It'd be cool, but I'm like, I think about it in long term.
Might be
Where
a
do we?
long
What do we
series.
want? We want a fun series, or we want Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah, I just want to just get it quick.
I want to get. Let's get up out of there. 4-0.
4-0 quick and then
Yeah.
rest. Get it
Because
rested.
realistically, who do we have to worry about on the Bucks? Giannis.
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 And then what,
They're
Bobby?
not, they're not as deep, bro.
You wanna know
I
anything
don't.
about-
I don't trust Kuzma. Like
Kuzma
I forgot Kuzma's even on that
Kuzma
team.
can play.
he
I think
can,
he's an
but
upgrade over.
he's streaky though.
He is. He's an upgrade over
Middleton now?
Over Middleton at this point.
Yeah.
Middleton was older. Though.
Yeah.
Put OG on him. I'm not
I'd rather
afraid.
have Milwaukee because I don't know if
No,
you guys
OG
know this.
on,
First of all, we
Giannis.
swept them this year, so big deal. But my
Oh, you're
thing
right, I
is,
forgot we had
no one
Cat.
on that team can guard Cat. I mean, Brook Lopez is a good help defender,
Yo.
but Cat takes advantage of him.
You
He can
know-
take it inside on him every time, and he was shooting the three.
Yeah.
And when Brook wasn't on him, they have no one else who could really guard him. The only guy I was honestly worried about guarding Cat was Bobby Portis, and
He got suspended.
Yeah, so
But I think he'll be
He'll be back.
He'll be
he's
back
for
at back,
playoffs, but
yeah,
I just
he's
don't
back.
think that's going to be enough. I don't think anyone on their team really can handle Cat, and honestly, I don't know if anybody can handle Brunson. So I just feel like they don't match up well with us. Now I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but there was nothing in those 4 games that told me like this team can take us down. Even the last game, I'm watching Cat, and that was he. Listen, the reality is when Cat plays against these big centers that don't have quick feet, they can't stay with him.
Yeah.
He does that pump fake from the 3-point line, and he is gone. He's
You
at the
gotta
rim.
respect it.
And you gotta respect that Cat can do either one. He could put it on the floor.
Or he could shoot.
He can shoot the 3, and he will release that shot as soon as he sees it.
Yeah.
And to me, if we're talking about first round matchup, I'm looking at the Bucks too. I mean, I think we're all kind of like clean sweep, just like we did to them. The Bucks, I just don't. I want that matchup.
Yeah.
I want that smoke, and I'm honestly upset that we didn't. I'm just upset that this is the year we're gonna take them out. But it's like there's been years where you're like, man,
We
like
could've.
this Bucks team is vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
This might be. I don't know. This might
Just-
be the end.
This
Oh,
I
you
was
mean like
I was gonna
Giannis?
say
Because we know what we did with the Sixers last year.
yeah. So I was
We
gonna
put them to bed. Now
Look at
the
them.
And
Look at
Atlanta.
them now.
And Atlanta.
And
Trenches.
I'm not
Atlanta
afraid.
didn't never got back either after
No, but they
beat
beat
us.
us though.
They're also
but-
injured right now too. You gotta
I
think
mean, we
about
beat Cleveland. They're kind of.
We didn't put
Oh,
Atlanta
we're gonna
to
beat
bed.
Cleveland. They're like
It
best
was,
team
it
in
was
the
the
league.
other
Best
team.
team of the
Oh, that was the Bucks.
It was the Bucks that put them to bed. Yeah. You see that the Sixers have just never been the same since we took them out of the playoffs.
Dude, it was-
Since Joel
it's-
Embiid tried to break Mitchell.
Yo,
Robinson's
honestly, I
leg.
think that's karma. I really
It
think
is
that's karma.
karma. Nobody
Like you
talks
try to
about
injure
it.
someone,
It's
here,
like-
your knees are gone.
You know what I
It's
saw?
like-
I saw like the day that Mitch came back from the day Mitch came back from that injury, Embiid went out for the season.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That
Inside
day,
that same day.
Same
that
day.
day,
Exact day.
same day. I
karma.
think. Yeah.
Nobody talks about it enough. This is not even on my list, but I gotta bring it up. There's like a compilation. Look online. Just look at all the 76ers dirty plays, and Joel Embiid's like 90% of them. But
Yeah.
yo,
Big guy.
we lost Mitch for what 2/3 of a season because, and I know he came back against the Pacers,
Yeah.
but he was not the same.
No, he was hurt.
He was hurt.
He was
you
still
know?
hurt. You saw him out there.
Yeah, so I'm not even over that. But you know what? Who cares about the Sixers? But we got to bring up one little side topic. Okay, we talked about Leon. We trust. Okay, I'm in the boat. I trust Leon. We talked about the young guys. How about these former Knicks around the league? We got to talk about our boy in Philly right now. We got to talk
Q-Dot?
about
I'm
Q-Dot.
gonna see him tonight.
I've always been a fan.
Lord.
I hope today he does not play and score 30 points. But if he's the only one who scores and everybody else is terrible,
Yeah.
then we're good.
Love
But
it.
I gotta say, I did not want to trade Q. I'm okay with why we traded him. We end up getting Bridges in the Bojan trade,
Bogdanovic.
so it's cool. But I would personally would have loved to see Quentin Grimes getting burned over fence. I love Landry Shamet, but he's an upgrade over Landry Shamet. I think it shows that the guys that we've drafted, like you mentioned before, like you said, we think we hit on this draft. I think we've hit on the last few drafts.
Yeah.
It's a matter of playing the guys.
Yeah.
But Quentin Grimes, I think, is an example of that. We saw what we did with Miles McBride in that same draft. These are not lottery picks. Second-round pick and a 20th pick-ish for Grimes. What do you guys think about the guys who are around the league that are former Knicks that are playing for other teams? Why don't we start with you, Hoff?
I mean, you talk about Grimes, man. I love Grimes.
Yeah,
Talk
he's
about
a good
Grimes,
player.
yo. Talk.
He's
big
got
dog.
that. He's
Talk
got
big
that,
boy.
and I love it because you could tell he has a
built,
little chip
man.
on. Yeah, he has a little chip on that shoulder too.
He's a tough player,
Yeah.
man.
He's a tough player. He reminds me like he's almost a little combination, a little bit of Josh Hart, a little bit of Brunson.
He doesn't have the intensity yet, but
He doesn't, but like you want to watch because right now he's kind of
he's figuring his game out.
he's figuring out. So he's got opportunity now.
Maybe-
Paul
maybe
George is
he'll
out
Be
for
a,
the season.
a restricted free agent.
We'll
at
get
the
him.
end of the season.
I'm calling. We're getting him back.
I
Okay,
don't
wait, hold on.
know.
Would you rather have Grimes or would you have DiVincenzo? We can talk about DiVincenzo right now too. DiVincenzo, I love him, but I feel like he's in the wrong system. Look what they're doing to him. He's getting into fights.
Well,
wasn't
I mean, he was
doing
still
this.
fighting. He was fighting. He was fighting. He was
Teammate.
fighting.
No, yeah.
We do miss DiVincenzo's toughness in
I
that
do.
level. He was
Yes.
ready to fight, ready to defend his
Absolutely.
teammates. I miss that. I think that is what separates the two players right now. Grimes right now, I think potentially has the ability to score a lot of points for a team that's kind of bad right now.
Yeah.
But
You know who's kind of been balling out is Obi.
Obi Toppin?
Obi's
Obi
on the
been
page.
Did you,
balling
hear
out.
you see
Think
those
that
3-point game winner? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the same day.
I think he
The
had
same
20
day was like
points.
Grimes
He was
had
streaky, but
40.
all
the
these
thing is,
former
oh,
Knicks.
you
Yeah,
can't.
he had like 40, and then
Grimes had-
Obi had like 30, and then like
Yeah.
Randall Devo had like good games as well.
For me-
on the same day.
The problem with that was like when he was on the Knicks, I think it was the same thing that like where it's like he wasn't getting consistent minutes and his confidence wasn't there, right? That's
Yeah.
exactly what
Well,
like what's going on with Precious.
I was looking at a
Yeah.
list the other day, and Obi, when he was with the Knicks, he scored like 30 points when he was starting at the end of the
Yeah.
season when Julius was hurt. So
Yeah.
we know Obi has the potential, and he's a scorer. The issue I think that we're talking about is not only the thing about not playing rookies, but it's if Tibbs doesn't buy into your defensive ability, he won't play you. So I think that's why Obi obviously went and found a new opportunity. Grimes I thought was a good defender. I just think that he's young.
Yeah.
You know. But our boy Devo, if you're saying who do I got to choose between the two, that's tough. But I know what I got with Devo.
Yeah.
And the
career-wise.
chemistry,
Yeah.
too.
And the
Chemistry,
chemistry.
too.
Yeah, man.
But
I
I'm going
wanna
to be
see all
honest
those
with you.
guys.
If one of those two guys is available in the offseason, and they are technically available in the offseason because Devo could be traded, although we can't trade for him. We'd have to. It's,
We'll wait till
it's a
the-
weird thing. They got to wait till a
Yes,
whole
sir.
year passes. He has to be traded to another. Well, he's now been traded. No, he would have to be traded to another team before we could trade for him.
So Minnesota would have to trade him. So then, and in order for us to then
it would
trade
have
for
to be
him,
like a almost. I don't know if a 3-way trade would work, but my understanding is that.
they've done that before though. They could.
Yeah,
do
but
that.
so
think
because
that,
he was
like,
traded right before the season started.
Yeah, right in September.
They can't make another trade for
they
that
gotta
player.
wait.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So Devo probably won't be available to us. However,
Grimes though.
Grimes is a restricted free agent, so we could technically sign him to an offer sheet, but we don't have cap space. We also, but there is a little thing that I think they could do. They could theoretically do a sign and trade, but that would mean that the Knicks would have to offer him a deal. Basically, Philly would have to give him a contract that the Knicks would want to give him, but they can't, and then they'd have to trade him to the Knicks. But the truth is, why would Philly do that? I think what's
Why would they
most
help
likely
us,
is
right?
someone's
No,
going to offer him an offer sheet, and the Sixers are going to match it, unless it breaks the bank. But they have 3 big-time max players on their team already.
Paul
Yes,
George,
like what you do.
Maxey,
Maxey,
and
and-
So they might have to. You might see. It's very possible. I read that article the other day. I should give them props, but whatever. It's very possible that Philly could get a good draft pick and decide to tear this down. I mean, imagine you end
Cooper
up with the
Flag.
first. Yeah, imagine you end up with the top 5 pick, which they might. They're pretty bad this year.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think there's any way that you could trade Embiid though, because of his contract.
Who would want to?
It's his contract. It's his injury. Like at this point in his career,
It
like
would have
he's
to be.
It's
or
over.
Paul George.
It's
I don't want
over.
him either.
PG's
I
not
think
this. It's
Paul
over
George
now.
is more untradeable at this point than Joel Embiid.
I think. I mean, he's been doing more podcasts.
He's not anymore. He stopped doing the podcast.
Oh, you say he's gonna lock in.
Even though he's hurt.
Well, before the season-ending injury, I don't know
Yeah.
now. I haven't been up to it.
It
He's a
sucks.
Sixer.
I love Paul George. What's he going
He was
on?
good.
Wait, what?
I love
You
Paul
gotta go.
George. Wait.
kidding.
I loved him on the Pacers, and then
Pacers?
he played for.
What?
He
On
played.
the Pacers?
Hold on. Wait, I'm talking about the
That was
matchup
the Roy
against
Hibbert
Miami.
Carmelo Anthony block.
Hold on. I'm not talking about the game.
All right, you like his game.
I like his game. All right. You ask
So it was a
every
decade
average.
ago.
It was a decade ago. Okay, and then he was on OKC for a while. He's putting up MVP
that was
numbers
his best
too.
season.
Oh,
forgot about that. I forgot
here
about
we
that.
go.
Can I tell you something? I think
What?
that 2018-19 Paul George season where he was almost MVP was his best season.
That was his last year in Indiana.
In terms of his
No,
game.
no,
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 OKC.
Oh,
OKC.
I'm sorry.
With
In terms of-
Westbrook.
Oh, I,
I'm trying to think about that. I don't know.
I mean,
I
those
gotta-
youngins.
I'm gonna politely decline.
2013.
You should have seen him on
I
the
think Paul
Pacers.
George's prime was on the Pacers
Yeah.
towards the end of that run. I do think he was good on the Thunder, but the team wasn't good enough. That team was a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
mellow Paul George
They
Westbrook team.
they were trying to throw something together with
It
what
just-
they had.
They
and
tried
it
to
just-
keep it going for a little longer.
Because like KD left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that was
they-
such a weird
James Harden was
time.
gone for a while, but
And like 2 days later,
all right,
they were just
enough
like,
about the damn Sixers
everyone
and the
died.
players on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we switch gears a little bit before we wrap up like our Knicks discussions? Is there anything like any kind of like Knicks story that you want to like throw out there? I know this one was not on the list, but any kind of like Knicks story from this year that you kind of want to like highlight, or a player that may not get the burn or love that they always get, on this team.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I really respect Cat. I think
Okay.
that he gets a bad rap about being like soft and stuff. I thought he actually handled the whole Draymond Green situation really well. Even I know he lost, but
Glad you brought
he
that
was
up,
he
by
was
the way.
balling out against Draymond, man. He wasn't backing down. And I know he's been through so much like in his life that I think that I really respect the way he's embraced New York. I think he's a good player. I think he's gonna.
I'm going to
he's
talk
gonna
about
be
the
awesome
Draymond
here.
Green afterwards, but we'll
Yeah.
come back to that.
That's a good thing.
That's mine.
You guys, what do you think? Anybody got a player or shout out that you want to highlight?
I'm the Deuce, man.
All right,
Okay.
let's talk about Deuce.
There's been a lot of games where he's had to kind of like step up and like
Carry the bench.
carry the bench or even come into the starting rotation and kind of put up numbers, right?
Yeah.
I think he's an underrated three-point shooter. I think he's come a long way from the get-go, like from where he was. D Rose, when he was on the Knicks, he gave props to
Oh,
Deuce.
Miles Brooke-Bride took D Rose's spot.
Yeah.
People forget that.
And D Rose was like, nah, he's legit.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like D Rose was like, oh, upset about it. He was like, nah, like he earned it. And like we're seeing all the hard work that he's put in now, given how his shot has gotten so much better. He's not a guy you could leave open.
No,
He's
no.
not a guy
and
you
at
can leave
first
open.
And he has a midi.
And he has a mid.
At first, here's the thing. At first,
And he
right,
has
he
a
was
mid.
known as just the defender. right?
Yes,
But then
yes.
he got his offense together.
Yeah, don't
And then
forget
he's-
too.
Oh, yeah.
His first 2 years in the
You
league,
know?
he had very limited minutes, but he shot like 25%.
Yeah, I
from the
remember. It was
three-point
Yeah.
like 24 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
so it looked like, is this guy going to be a good shooter? Now, I watched him in the summer league, and I watched him in the G League a little bit. Yes, I do watch some of those games. And I saw the guy can shoot. I'm like, he just has to get opportunity, right? We talked about that. Just getting consistent minutes. You cannot be effective if you're taking 1-3 a game or you get, 2 opportunities every 2 weeks. You're going to miss both of them, right? And then all of a sudden your percentage plummets down the toilet, right? So I feel like with the minutes, we see what Miles can do, and he is definitely the best scorer off the bench, right?
Oh,
Easy
100%.
question.
Yeah.
And also Miles McBride, to his defense, or I should say to the credit of the office and the coaching staff, this is a good example of a developed player.
Yes.
He may not
Second
be
round pick.
Second round pick. And let's not forget that this guy is, he's not a natural point guard. He's a 6'1" kind of off guard who has been asked to handle the ball at times, but mostly is a catch and shoot 3-pointer. And also lockdown defender. He's almost like a wing. He has the wingspan of
That's
a
a good way to
6'6"
describe
guy.
him.
So he's not your traditional point guard size either. A lot of things that are underrated in the NBA is wingspan, okay? We look at height all the time. We say, oh, he's got 7 foot height, but it's your wingspan that really is important when you're playing defense.
I think that's the same with Hart. I mean, he's not
Absolutely.
the tallest guy, but
Josh
he gets
Hart's
all the
6'4",
rebounds. Exactly.
But he has a 6'9" wingspan.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Exactly.
So it's a big difference, I'll speak from experience. I'm 5'8", and my wingspan is like of my brother, who's 6'1". So, I can always guard people because my arms are long.
Yeah.
All right, so Plex, who are you going to give a shout-out to today?
Shout out DeLon Wright. Shout out
I
DeLon
love
Wright.
that.
I like it.
I like that.
Cause it's just weird because you had someone you didn't play him at all since you traded for him, and then now you want him to start. You're starting him 36 minutes. I think it just shows all right, we have these guys. You can play him. You can give some of the starters rest. You don't have to play him 40 plus minutes, and he's giving good minutes.
He's a vet.
He's a vet.
Yeah.
I thought it was also cool that he started against his former team.
Exactly.
Oh,
They
yeah.
traded him. He lit them up.
He had a couple threes.
It's pretty
And
awesome.
good defense too.
The other day,
Great
I was playing
defense.
2K the other day, and I was like, I was going DeLon Wright, and I scored 40 with DeLon Wright.
Did you actually?
I did. I
You
swear.
player
Was that
lock
a beginner?
it?
Was that a rookie?
No, it wasn't. I was
Rookie mode?
cooking, bro.
Is that
Yo,
rookie?
Dylan, right, 40 points.
I know. Yeah.
But hey, I love that pick, Plex. I think that it's these guys that come in sometimes that you're like, this guy can play. I think it's proven. This is the thing about Tibbs. If you play defense, you probably are going to get in the rotation, right?
Yeah.
DeLon Wright is also 6'5" at a point guard position. That's massive size. It reminds me a little bit, not the height, but when we had Elfrid Payton, I know people were not lovers of Elfrid Payton, but Elfrid Payton was a good defensive player, and we won 50 games with him at point guard. So it's like, I'm sorry, we were the third seed.
We won
Well,
like
that was
41.
a short season.
41 and 72.
Short season.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm thinking of the other team. We did make it to the 4th seed with him at the starting point guard position. So it shows that we can succeed when a point guard plays defense. I know that Brunson's not known for that, but Love that shout out.
I remember when I was at that game 2 versus the Hawks, like, and he got booed when he was in the starting lineup.
Yeah, like
And
that
I
was a little,
like, come
that was
on.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, say what you want about the guy, but with Alfred Payton,
That's our team. He's on our
played.
team, man.
Yeah,
I
and,
can't
he, and
boo
he, he
him.
tried, man. He just wasn't a good shooter. He wasn't a great scorer.
It was
But
weird though, cause it was like he would start first 6 minutes, and that was it. It was like the
Towards
only
the
minute.
end, that's what they did.
And then that was the only minutes he played. It was kind of weird.
I thought Alfred Payton was a little underrated. I thought that, you know, people hated him, but I think we see what we can do with a point guard with Brunson and having consistency. But I mean, Alfred Payton could have been a decent backup point guard.
Yeah.
You know? But you know, he moved on. It's
He
cool.
had some sparks of.
Remember his
He
hair?
had a
20
His
assists,
hair.
20
He was drafted
assists. Yeah,
by
20
the-
assists. Well, who was it? Was it
He
with the
had 20
Magic?
points and 20
No,
assists.
it wasn't
No,
the
it was
Magic.
like the
Yeah, he
Pelicans.
came
The
up for
Pelicans.
New
Last year, he played
Orleans.
for the Pelicans.
Yeah.
For like he had one massive game. It was like
And then
where
he
did this
got
come
cut
from?
again. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Well,
unfortunate.
before Delon Wright showed that he could ball, they were talking about like, yo, we might need to sign another point guard. And they were talking about even on some of the podcasts, like, what about him? What about Alfred
Yeah.
Payton? He's probably sitting on the couch, but he's in shape though. All right, so my unsung story. Not that I won't accuse anybody of stealing what I was going to choose, but now I'm going to go with our boy Mikal Bridges.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
reason why I'm going to go with Bridges is because I felt like the trade kind of amplified how much people were expecting out of him. You know, obviously he scored about 20 points a game for the Nets last year, and when he got to the Nets initially in the trade the year before, he was scoring a lot. But you got to look at the situation.
Being a Knick and being a Net is different, man.
There we go. And the situation, the Nets were tanking, and they had this guy who could score, and they said, just go ahead and do your thing. I just think that as the season has gone on, Bridges has gotten better. And I think that he is Mr. Consistent when it comes to he may not drop 30 points, but he's gonna like consistently drop like 18.
Yeah.
And you know what it is too about Bridges? Despite some of the early struggles, he's a good defensive player, man.
Yeah.
And he's gonna always lock up against the best player unless Deuce McBride's in the game, which is what happened when Deuce became the starter. All of a sudden, Bridges is guarding the second best defender. So there is like an advantage to having Bridges on the lineup when Deuce is out there. He can be more productive. And I just think his movement without the ball, his mid-range jumper that's almost automatic, that little fadeaway.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's a good ball handler, and he's a decent passer. The other thing about Bridges is I know we look at the trade and we go, 5 first-round picks. Of course, that's always going to follow him. But I think that you have to remember that Bridges has been to the finals. He's been in the playoffs almost every year of his career. He's never missed a game. And I just think that
They call him the
long-term,
Iron Man.
He is the Iron Man. And at the end of the day, in year 1 with the Knicks, I just think that he performed exactly how we expected him to. And I think he fit in very well. And I know it's hard that we moved on from DiVincenzo, but they're separate moves. For me, Bridges is your typical maybe 3rd or 4th scorer on the team who can easily drop 25 in a game. And I do believe, and just remember, he did have a game block
against Chicago,
block
right?
Against Chicago early in the year on a big man.
On
Yeah,
Vucevic.
twice.
Yeah.
He had crazy.
He had like multiple this season.
He's had multiple. And also, talking about the wingspan, Bridges is 6'6", but he has the wingspan of a 6'9" player. So again, this guy is one of the reasons I think we have this advantage on at the wing position. The wing stop.
I think for like a long time, and I shout out to CP the franchise.
Okay.
He was like, yeah, we don't have like a solid wing, and then we got OG and him,
Yeah. It was
and then like having 2 wings
It's
that
a
are like
luxury.
that good, bro.
to luxury, man.
I mean,
awesome.
when we try to compare our starting 5 to the other starting 5 in the league, we are in like an S tier.
It's actually crazy.
I mean,
at least
like,
on the offensive end.
at least on the offensive end, right?
Defensive end, we're probably.
Like, I said that they're up with Boston for best starting 5s.
Yeah, and even with that, I'm like, maybe it's biased. I still take our starting 5. I take our starting 5 over OKC starting
I'll tell
5.
you right now. I'll take our
Tell you
starting 5 in long term. Like, you know, like Boston, you know, how long is KP going to last? I don't know. Some of those guys are old, Drew Holiday. Like, my thing is, for us, this team can stay together for a couple years.
Yeah.
And the starting lineup might tinker, but we know this team with, obviously, Bridges is the only guy we're not 100% sure about, but we know this team is coming back next year unless they make some massive change, you know? So
And they're only going to get better by, you know, like having another year together. They're going to mesh.
And that's the thing about that people don't understand about basketball. It doesn't happen immediately. Now,
Yeah.
some teams like Boston last year, they freaking just take it and run with it.
Yeah.
But some of those guys were on that team for a couple years. When you have some of these younger guys step up and become a big part of your success, like Peyton Pritchard on Boston, who went from a young player to a legit role player on that team.
Derek White.
Traded.
Yeah.
That guy
Yeah,
is-
I mean, it takes time sometimes, and I think what we're seeing, because remember, Boston went to the finals a couple years ago, and they looked like they were not ready. Now, a couple
the
years later,
Warriors.
they win the chip. It's not unheard of that we can do something similar, but the first step is making it to the conference finals. Then we start talking, right? We got to get to that third
baby
round.
steps.
It's baby steps.
Yep.
All right, so we do got to. You wanted to add something, Plex, before we move on?
No, I think
You
we
guys,
covered everything.
anything else we left out before we move on to the next topic?
No,
All right.
You good?
So, look,
Yeah,
You
we
good, Plex? You good,
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm
7
good. I'm
o'clock.
chilling.
So, all right, we are going to wrap things up soon, but before we do, I just want to mention, like, we got to talk about, is there any big NBA storyline that has kind of, like, just, taken over? I got one.
You said you want to talk about the Draymond.
I was gonna say the Draymond.
Ah, yeah. Well,
Oh,
that's
there's
where I was
one.
going
gotta be
first.
thinking- I'm probably forgetting something.
So, we got the brawl. We got a couple things, but we got the Luka trade. But I'm going to talk about Draymond real quick, man. I actually respect Draymond as a player. I always have. I thought the cat stuff was a little out of hand.
It's out of pocket.
It was out of pocket. And the thing is about these guys that appear on these major networks, I'm not going to go and start a battle with anybody. That's not the goal here. But just to kind of talk about the difference between some of these podcasts that we listen to about these real fans that put content out every day. You mentioned CP the franchise and what Knick Fan TV has been able to do. These podcasts actually analyze the game. They watch the games. These are real fans.
He went off on Draymond.
He
you
did,
see what
and
he said?
rightfully so, because
Yeah.
this is the thing. They don't watch the games. You have Shaquille O'Neal on the other network basically saying, I don't watch the Pistons. They didn't do anything. Because why? Because they're one of the hottest storylines in the NBA. And you guys can talk about it if you want. But my beef is that you have a player as established as Draymond Green who's basically just kind of outwardly just saying, like, I don't like today's game. He's, say what you want about the All-Star game and how ridiculous it was, but he's not advocating for the game. He's talking about how the players are weak and they're soft. He's talking about Karl-Anthony Towns, one of the best big men in the game, and he's saying he's soft. You talked about it before. This soft thing about Cat is not true. The guy goes to the basket every time. He rebounds. That's tough. Now, does he talk trash? Is he getting in fights? No. He has a different way of carrying around his energy
He
level.
speaks with his game.
He speaks with his
There you
game.
go.
He's not trying to fight. Dude knows what's on the line. And the fact that he's with the Knicks, listen, when he's in there, we know he goes in every play. I just thought that the Draymond thing was a little out of pocket. And I just think that he basically gave himself credit for Cat stepping up his game. He's like, well, if Cat plays like that every game, listen, man, you're not watching. Cat does play like that every game.
That's how you
that's
know
why he
this
was an
guy's
all-star
an awesome
starter, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Cat's not going to give you the typical
Draymond
stuff.
Ever been an
but-
all-star star?
Just saying, man. So before I give you
I
guys,
think it was
Yeah.
one.
I
I think it's
No, a starter.
reserve.
No, he's
reserve.
not.
Has
Draymond's
Draymond Green
not a
ever been an
reserve.
all-star
no,
star?
he's been an all-star. He's not started
starter.
unless I'm
No,
correct,
yeah,
but we
not
can
started.
check that. But I just want to mention, like, unlike some of these, these other professionals who analyze the game, who don't watch the game. There's a lot of podcasts that do. I'm not trying to shout them out, but like I watch podcasts like Modern Jam that basically do analysis every day about the Knicks. We talked about Knick Fan TV and the journey they've been on. Go check out even Jonathan McCree on the Knicks Film School because he actually talks about the game. So like, and that's what we want to do. We want to talk about that games. We want to talk about what's actually happening. But as far as other storylines, because as you can tell,
There's another big one.
Draymond was not. That whole thing bothered me a lot. And you come for the Knicks. I'm coming for you.
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway,
hell yeah.
Draymond Green's never gonna know who I am.
Can we talk about, or do you want? Do you have one?
I don't have one.
Do you have one?
Oh, wait, what's yours?
I was gonna talk about the Stephen A. Smith LeBron thing.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
See, I forgot about.
By the way, he's also in the list.
Stephen A.
Yeah, he's in the list.
he made
he's
your
in my
list?
list. I don't like that.
That guy
list.
does
There's a
not
list?
watch the game.
There's a list.
There's a list.
There's a
He's up there
list.
with Michael Rappaport.
I feel like he got
Talk
his
about
feelings hurt.
Stephen A. I mean, listen, we're not making this podcast to talk trash. Just the situation.
We're analyzing from different perspectives.
Stephen A.
We're real
versus LeBron
fans.
James.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So like, what's going on there? We don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but
I think. I think LeBron kind of did like his best Will Smith impression. Like, keep my son's name out of your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man,
I don't know.
I have a perspective on this
The
too.
second time you mentioned Will Smith.
bad.
on the
We like Will
podcast.
Smith?
You a Will Smith fan?
Yeah.
I like Will.
You
I
watching
love-
a lot
I
of
love
Fresh
Will
Prince,
Smith.
huh?
Yeah, I love Fresh
You
Prince.
watch-
Man. That's my.
Can I just say though, Ben? Yo,
I love it.
Stephen A's been talking trash about Bronny all year.
Oh,
He
yeah.
literally goes on ESPN. He goes, "As a father, I'm telling you, stop this, stop this."
No, for such a long time,
feel
dude.
you.
I mean,
he made it personal.
LeBron probably like he tried to keep it professional for so long, but you can
I think
only
he just
take so
ran out
much.
of
Yeah.
patience.
What
man.
I
That's what
also
it is.
what I also saw is on the Stephen A. Smith show. Like, he has his own show. He was talking about LeBron, and like in the highlights in the background, he just had Bronny missing shots, like in the background, like a
Yeah,
compilation
they're,
of Bronny.
they're trying to
missing.
showcase how bad he is.
Well,
you know?
I was like, I understand it's the name, but it's also like, what? Like, this is, we could compare it to like McBride. Like, McBride came in, no one's talking crap on McBride just because he's like an earlier player that's
And he's
developing.
24% from 3-point line.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. I'm like, yes, his last name is James. However, I'm like, this is still like any other player. Like, he's gonna develop. And then
Yeah.
who was it? The Gilbert Arenas podcast.
Yeah, I checked it out too.
Yeah, they talk highly on, some of them talk highly on Bronny, but they're saying like he's gonna become a good player. Like, it just
I think
give
he's a
it
good
time.
defender.
I think he's like, everyone's like, oh, doesn't belong in the league. I think he can be in the league.
He just dropped like 40 in the G
At
League.
this point,
They want him
Yeah.
to be like LeBron coming out of
Yeah.
high school and also taking over a Cavs team. Like, he is not that. He's
No.
LeBron James' son, but he's not LeBron James.
Hey,
so
so you
why
had
are you trying to
17?
compare him to one of the greats?
He had 17
23.
that one game.
well, we
17.
know it's because of the name.
Yeah, 17
And I
points that
think
one
it's
game.
because of the process of how he's gotten here.
Yeah.
You know, look, obviously we're going to talk about, you having your kids jump in, the nepotism thing, but this is my take.
Does Ben have
How many teams in the league were actually considering drafting Bronny?
The Warriors.
It was 2. It was like
The Lakers. And
the Lakers. I think the Suns were considering it, and then it was the Warriors.
Yeah.
So, all right, fine. Anybody technically could have drafted him. Now, Lakers probably kind of strong-armed it so nobody would. But like the thing is, if nobody else wants the player, then why is everybody upset? You know, there's nepotism going on all
fully
over
the
the place.
name.
It's fully the name. So at first, I'll be honest, I wasn't sure. Watching him in the summer league, watching him in early stages, even his college games, he had the heart attack, so it's hard to judge. So did he deserve to be drafted based on his college experience? No, he got drafted based on his high school career, and he was drafted partially because of the upside. Now, if a team wants to take a chance and waste a draft pick on him, then that's them. True. Now, the thing that I have an issue with is that everyone going after Bronny, it's very obvious you're just going after him
clout,
yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
we want to tag him, and we want people to take a look at our views.
That's
on
why I don't
Bronny.
watch. I don't keep up with that. I don't watch
Okay.
any
I'm
of your
keeping up
podcasts.
with that.
First
Yeah,
take.
it depends.
CP the franchise calls it worst take.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't watch
don't
First
blame
Take.
them.
I don't watch any of like the popular
I
ones.
still check out some of them from time to time because I want to know what they're saying, because I want to see how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, 100%.
There are some people who have things to say. If you watch the Inside the NBA crew, the B Squad, they're better.
I love Alan Hahn.
Alan
That's
Hahn's
my
great.
guy.
You know, whenever these guys are on, whenever the MSG people are on,
Monica
ESPN,
McNutt.
Monica McNutt's good.
Shout out to Monica
Yeah.
McNutt.
The
We're
JV
talking
squad
about
better than
real
varsity.
analysts.
That's great.
You know, but whenever it's the big names, and it's not like I'm trying to have a battle with these guys. I grew up loving Charles Barkley and Shaq. You know, Kenny Smith is fine. You know, but
What about Ernie?
Ernie's great, but Ernie's he's me. He's the guy.
He's just trying to make sure they get through the
Ernie's the
next
guy who's
thing.
gonna set you up. But
Yeah.
but the thing is that whenever you have these big former athletes come out and they are talking about the game in this way, you can tell when they watch the game. You know, I was actually watching a video on another channel by Flight Mike, and
I love Flight Mike.
yeah, he had a little bit of a lull a couple years ago, but he admits this. But Flight Mike was saying on his video recently, I just watched it, it's a good video, because he talks about how the ambassadors of the NBA basically don't support the NBA. We're talking about
Yeah.
the veterans like Draymond Green, the guys covering the game.
Oh, is that the latest video?
Yes.
I gotta watch
It's
that.
a good video because he really just goes into how, like, hey, you know, you got to watch the games. You know, like, I watch every Knick game.
Me too.
Not even joking. And if I don't, I watch the replay.
Same.
You know,
I have all of them recorded.
I record every episode. Now, listen, I'm not saying that every single Knick fan got to watch these videos, but if you're going to come on here and you're going to talk about these teams, you got to know what you're talking about. And that's my main beef about the whole situation. You know, and that includes the lack of recognizing the Detroit Pistons in their triple win tripling their wins from last year.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Say what you want about them. They lost 20 games in a row last year, right?
Like
28.
20 something.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. So yeah, look, like I might not remember a stat like that, but like I know the Pistons were bad. They've been bad for years. This is a good story, and I hope they don't play us. But it's a good story. Seeing what
says a
some of
lot.
these guys are doing and seeing and recognizing what teams are doing in the league, the Knicks included. When people go, oh, they have no chance. That's not true. If you're watching the game, you see what's actually happening.
That's just like a short-sighted way of just like.
It is. It's also, it clearly shows that they're over the hill. And some of these analysts are going to, this is why people rather watch podcasts and check out what fans are doing and these
'Cause
people
they're
that are
watching.
hustling.
Yeah.
That's
there
why
you
they
go.
got to bring those people onto those platforms.
There are, and Flight Mike, I'll give him credit too. He also credits that there are former players who are actually doing good content. Say what you want. I hate the Celtics, God. But Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, they know what they're talking about. They actually talk about the games. You could tell they watch the games. Gilbert Arenas and some of his people, they watch the games.
Yeah.
You know, Carmelo watches the games. Dwayne Wade watches the games. But some
I
of
don't
these
know
guys
if Paul
do not.
Pierce respects the Knicks, though.
No, he doesn't. I hate that part. Don't
He
get me
doesn't-
wrong.
he doesn't like
He's
You know
going
what I
to be
love
a
about
Knicks hater forever. But you can't sit here and be like, yo, that those people don't watch the games.
Oh,
Shaq and Charles Barkley don't watch the games.
Kevin,
And
I love,
Stephen A. does not watch all the games either.
I love when Kevin Garnett like comes at Paul Pierce because Paul Pierce would say something out of pocket, then Kevin Garnett would like, he's like, what does he call him? Cupcake? There you go. He calls him
No
cupcake.
clue, no
Check
clue.
it out.
KG and Melo had beef, man. They
Oh,
used
we
to
know
have
about
beef.
that.
I
Even
remember
with the
that.
beat, that's what I love about Kevin Garnett. They could even be beef, but he'll still respect the players so
Yeah.
much. He
If you
could.
check out Melo's podcast, he actually talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Oh, he did? I
Yeah,
gotta
you
check
gotta
that
check
out.
I gotta check out.
Yeah,
his
there's a,
podcast,
listen.
man.
We're not gonna sit here and pretend like there aren't good podcasts. Brunson and Josh Hart's podcast is good. The interview they did with James Dolan, I've been a very big critical.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually
The one
very
with James
It was
interesting.
good.
It was
Yeah.
good.
You
know?
see that we almost traded for Vince Carter in the early 2000s? He said he almost
He
pulled the
said
trigger.
he almost pulled the
Vince
trigger. I don't know
Carter.
how close we really were, but
I mean, it was just because Vince Carter, he had bad injuries.
Yeah.
He almost did.
well, you know what happened at the end of his Toronto run? He was playing like dog crap on purpose, and then he gets traded to New Jersey, and all of a sudden he's like 26 points a game. He went
wait
from
a
averaging like 15
Dunk
points a game to
contest.
25.
Wait
He's
a
unhappy.
minute.
He's unhappy. All right, so we do kind of have to wrap things up, but before we do, I want to point out our display a little bit.
Yes.
So today we got Marbury in the cut above Hoffer. That one that got signed back in the day when Marbury was still on the team when he was doing his $15
This
shoes.
is El Fuego right here.
This is we got this little backdrop we picked up at the not Mall of America,
American
Dream
Dream.
Mall.
American Dream Mall.
I
Mall of
forgot the name of the
America.
store. I
Almost
will get that.
I
shout
almost
out
broke it.
eventually. It's pretty good. Last time Plax took it off the thing. He
No,
couldn't
this
get it back
time too. I
on.
almost broke it.
That's all right.
got-
Hoffer's rocking Marcus Camby jersey today.
This is
so
my
point
JB
out.
jersey right here.
We got
23.
Ben's Brunson jersey in the back here. He's rocking a fresh new baseball jersey.
yeah.
I'm not rocking anything
baseball
really
season?
fresh, but I got my own Brunson jersey. But we got our '94 Knicks Finals hat. I hate the color scheme because it's Rockets because they won. And then we got a little pixelated Knicks hat. So okay, every once in a while, I'm going to tell you guys where we get our stuff from. I will say, though, I did pick up something from Knick Fan TV. So when it gets here, I'm going to put it up because
What is it?
it's basically like a collage of all these former players and current Knicks.
Oh,
It's pretty dope, man.
I think I saw that.
I bring
Yeah.
my banner next time. I have my Knicks banner.
Yeah, we'll bring more
I
stuff.
think
do.
it's been
We're this is the thing about our podcast. This is how we're gonna wrap it up. We're never gonna hate on other podcasts or other people on the real. We just when we talk, we're gonna be real about things, but we're gonna be honest about how some of these how the analysis is. We're not gonna sit here and pretend.
We're not
like
going to
our-
sugarcoat anything.
What's that? No, we're not going to sugarcoat, but we're also not going to pretend like we're the best that do it. The thing is that there's a lot of great content coming out, you know, a lot of good podcasts. So there's plenty of material for you to check out if you're a Knicks fan. I want to give a shout out to my team here. I also want to give my shout out. I don't want to name them right now, but we have a crew behind the cameras who come here and show up and make sure we do what we do. So thank you guys. If you like what we do here, check out the Knicks Perspective. We plan on having more episodes. We plan on doing more content. We're getting it done slowly, but we will be here, and we're going to add to this Knicks love that we all have. I'm Jay.
I'm Hoffer.
Plex.
And I'm Ben.
We're signing off with the Knicks Perspective. We'll see you again next time. Thank you so much.
See ya.